I never thought a simple trip to the trailer mountains would change me in ways I couldn't have imagined. When I packed up my old trailer and convinced my son, Ethan, to come along for the weekend, I only had one thing in mind: peace and a little time away from the noise of everyday life. Life had been heavy, and as a single mother balancing work and home, I had felt stretched thin. My son was growing up fast, almost 17 now, and sometimes I worried we were slowly drifting apart. So, this trip wasn't just about camping. It was about holding on to something precious before it slipped away. The drive up the winding mountain roads felt endless, but Ethan sat quietly in the passenger seat, earbuds in, nodding his head to music I couldn't hear. I watched the way the trees leaned toward the road, as if they were welcoming us deeper into their world. When we finally reached the clearing where I liked to park the trailer, I took a deep breath of mountain air and felt lighter already. The towering pines stretched high above, and the crisp scent of earth and pine needles wrapped around me. Ethan, though, barely looked up from his phone until I nudged him and pointed toward the horizon. "Look," I said softly, "the mountains are waiting for us." He smiled faintly, and for a moment, I saw the little boy he used to be. We set up camp quickly, falling into a rhythm we hadn't shared in years. He unrolled the camping chairs while I hooked up the lantern and pulled out the cooler. There was something healing about watching him move, strong and capable, yet still my boy. That first evening, we sat side by side in our chairs outside the trailer, watching the sun dip behind the ridges. The quiet was thick, almost too heavy at first, but then it became beautiful. No horns, no buzzing phones, no deadlines, just the sound of crickets and the faint rustle of wind in the trees. For the first time in a long time, we were simply together. The next morning started slow, which was exactly what I needed. I boiled water over the portable stove, sipping my coffee as Ethan tied his hiking boots. He surprised me when he asked, "Want to go check out the trail?" I hadn't expected him to take the lead, but I quickly nodded, eager to share the adventure. We set off, backpacks light, spirits even lighter. The path wound through towering pines and across streams that glittered in the morning light. At one point, Ethan stopped suddenly, pointing into the woods. "Mom, look," he whispered. My heart skipped until I realized what he was pointing at, just a family of deer, moving gracefully through the trees. We stood there in silence, watching them pass, the moment so still it felt almost sacred. Later, as we rested on a fallen log, Ethan surprised me again. "You work too hard, Mom," he said. His voice was low but steady, and I could tell he had been holding that thought for a while. I looked at him, my throat tight, unsure how to respond. He went on, I don't want you to be tired all the time. I don't want you to miss stuff, you know." His words pierced me, both painful and healing at once. I admitted softly, "I worry about missing out too, Ethan. That's why we're here." For the first time, I saw in his eyes not just the boy I had raised, but a young man who was beginning to understand me in ways I didn't expect. By afternoon, the sky darkened. Clouds gathered suddenly, and before we knew it, rain poured down. We rushed back toward the trailer, laughing breathlessly as thunder rolled overhead. We huddled under a poncho, water dripping from our hair, and despite the storm, I felt a warmth in my chest I hadn't felt in a long time. Inside the trailer, the storm battered the roof, but we made the best of it. Ethan fetched firewood from outside while I lit the lantern. The glow filled the small space with a golden light, and we worked side by side, turning what could have been an inconvenience into a memory I knew I would treasure. That night, after the rain had passed, we built a campfire and roasted marshmallows. Ethan cracked jokes, and I laughed until tears streamed down my face, realizing how long it had been since we had laughed like that together. At one point, he looked at me and said, "Mom, this is actually nice." His words were simple, but to me, they were everything. We sat by the fire until the stars came out, their brilliance unspoiled by city lights. The sky stretched endlessly above us, and I found myself whispering a quiet thank you to the universe for giving me this night. The following day brought more moments I never expected. As we hiked higher, Ethan began to open up about his fears, college, the future, even friendships he wasn't sure would last. I listened carefully, trying not to interrupt, my heart swelling with pride at his honesty. I told him about my own fears too, how sometimes I felt like I wasn't enough, how I worried about failing him. He looked at me with steady eyes and said, "You're more than enough, Mom. You always have been." Those words melted every weight I had been carrying. In that instant, I realized this trip wasn't just about me teaching him something, it was about him teaching me, too. As the weekend drew to a close, we stood together at the mountain ridge, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. Neither of us spoke for a long time, and we didn't need to. The silence was full, meaningful, perfect. Finally, Ethan said, "I'm glad we did this." My throat tightened, and I managed to whisper, "Me too." It was simple, but it carried everything I wanted him to know, that no matter how far he grew, no matter where life took him, these moments would bind us forever. That last night, we sat outside the trailer under a sky so full of stars it felt unreal. A lantern glowed softly beside us, and the mountains stood watch in the distance. Ethan leaned back in his chair, sighing in contentment. "I don't think I'll forget this," he said. "Neither will I thought, and I knew it was true." When we drove back down the mountain the next morning, I carried more than just the memories of a weekend. I carried a renewed faith in us, in family, in the bond between mother and son that no distance, no time, no struggle could ever break. And that was when I understood. It wasn't just a trip to the trailer mountains. It was a turning point, a reminder that sometimes the quiet moments, the storms survived together, the laughter shared by the fire, are the ones that shape us forever.